Several years ago, when I first, well, actually over a decade ago, I should say now, when I first started this channel, one of the first videos I uploaded was talking about the romance when it comes to Chippendale Rescue Rangers character, Gadget Hackwrench, and basically why it kind of played an integral part. And I gave my thoughts on it, and basically overall, a lot of people have talked about the whole the whole situation of who would Gadget end up with had they gone that direction, had the people behind the series like Tad Stones and all of them gone in that direction. Because one of the subplots, if you will, one of the interesting sub arcs to the series, at least for comedic effect, if not affection and cute effect, was the fact that Chip and Dale would both always fight over or squabble over the attentions of Gadget, or basically try to win over her attention, win her affection, if you will. And throughout the series, you would start seeing several instances of this occurring or manifesting itself, if you will, throughout. But the reason this was kind of like the sub arc, kind of a cute, kind of comedic at times, affectionate like sub arc that was added to the show was because of the fact that it was kind of a callback, if not a total callback, to the Chip and Dale short back from the 1950s and 60s called Two Chips and a Miss, where Chip and Dale were both doing the same thing, and that's fighting over the affections of a female chipmunk lounge singer named Khalees. So basically what happened here, in my opinion, is Tad Stones and several others decided to bring that over to Rescue Rangers and have them do that, or basically have them incorporate that into the series and have both Chip and Dale do the same thing here, but this time it's with Gadget. However, there were some interesting scenarios thrown within the series that kind of, allowed for the fans to interpretate who they felt Gadget should be with, because you would have some other interesting scenarios playing a factor into the whole romance deal when it came to who would end up with Gadget and who would Gadget choose and vice versa kind of stuff. So as a bit of a celebration, or to tie in with the announcement on Monday that the live-action CGI Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers film will begin filming this spring 2021 in the Los Angeles area and will be exclusively shown on Disney Plus, not theatrically but Disney Plus, along with the fact that you have the people behind the 2017 to present DuckTales reboot cartoon coming out and telling Sci-Fi Wire that they are planning to try to maybe expand on this Disney Afternoon verse or universe that they created within the DuckTales series, and basically create some new series to go along with it, that with the recent announcement that Disney is focusing more on streaming, or wanting to make the streaming services a main platform to focus on, you could probably end up seeing some of these series end up there exclusively before maybe jumping over to like Disney Channel and Disney XD. However, for this video though, like I said, we're going to talk about the romance perspective when it comes to the character Gadget Hackwrench. And basically, from my personal opinion, because I've mentioned this many times before, who I think she may have ended up with had Tad Stones and the rest of the creative crew behind the series gone in that direction, and when I believe it could have happened, as well as kind of bring up the other interesting scenarios that kind of allowed fans, even to this day, to interpret who they think Disney would have had Gadget go with in the series because of these different scenarios. Now, when it comes to Gadget, basically, and the whole romance thing for her in the series, it basically all began from an origin standpoint from the third part of Rescue Rangers to the Rescue, which was the 5-part pilot. Basically, when Gadget removes her helmet and reveals her full face and hair and all that, and she turns towards Chip and Dale, almost immediately, Chip and Dale are Twitterpated, as quoted in the classic Bambi film. They are Twitterpated the moment they see Gadget. And basically, when she introduces herself and offers her hand in like a friendship kind of way, a handshake, Chip's the first one to take it, say, hi, I'm Chip. But then you see this look on Dale like, ooh, no, you don't, and just pushes him out of the way, and he offers his hand almost immediately afterwards. Like he just shoves, or not shoves, but he just pushes Chip out of the way. So you got the inkling right there already that there's going to be some kind of competition between the two to try to win her affections. And you see this even afterwards when they, end up in the destination where they have to be because of the story, needing them to be there, the plot needing them to be there. And when Gadget is kind of down a little bit, they encourage her to pick herself back up and say, hey, look, you're not your father, you're you. You need to be you, and you, being who you are, an inventor, can get us out of this scenario that we're currently in. And that's enough to encourage her to the point that she hugs both Chip and Dale. And you see this expression, she's like, this feels so good kind of deal coming off of their faces, that even after she's done hugging him, you see Dale kind of still have that look on his face like, I've been hit with Cupid's arrow or something like that. So anyway, though, basically you kind of get the idea, or you kind of get the foundation, if you will, kind of the beginnings of what would, like I say, be kind of an on and off situation throughout the series. In fact, it would serve as sort of as I mentioned, a cute, I think I mentioned this at the beginning, a cute sub-arc, affectionate, cute sub-arc, if not for comedic relief as well. If not, sometimes if the story has to, actually has to use it to be a partial focus point, if you will. Like I said, even if the story has to utilize it to be somewhat of a partial focus point, basically you get the idea, you basically get the beginnings here in the origin story of basically Chip and Dale, having this pining for Gadget's affections. Like they want to be with her. They want her to choose one of them or something like that. But what's interesting is that even though Rescue Rangers to the Rescue was the pilot and was basically the premiere for the series back in 1989 in syndication and in prime time, for me here in Northern California, in the Central Valley Bay Area, that would have been KTVU Channel 2, or Fox 2 now, as it's known. Basically, before that, you had the Disney Channel preview episodes that came out in the March and springtime of 1989, April, springtime of 1989, and it was initially there that you kind of got the idea that Chip and Dale had a thing for Gadget. In fact, one of the first episodes, in fact, the very official first episode ever shown, Catteries Not Included, you have Chip sweet-talking Gadget by saying that he has complete confidence in her work. This gets her kind of in the mood. And then here comes Dale, and he's taking advantage, seeing that Gadget's kind of in that mood now, kind of showing his support as well. And he's the one out of the two in that very episode that gets the furthest when it comes to, getting really personal, if you know what I mean, with Gadget, because, Dale's kissing up her arm, basically because what Dale does is he's kissing Gadget's arm, and he's working himself up to, to her face to like do the kiss on the lips kind of deal. And he's only blocked, if you know what I mean. He's only blocked, if you know what I mean, or I'll just say, because hopefully, dear God, it doesn't get me in trouble. He's cock blocked, if you will, by Chip. He's cock blocked by Chip because, Monterey comes up with this idea that maybe certain others should go in a separate direction, or go split up and search in have one group search in another direction while another group heads in another direction. And Chip's like, hey, that's a great idea, and basically takes that idea that Monterey just gave out of nowhere, and basically takes advantage of it, and he grabs Dale and tosses Dale, saying, here, take Dale with you. Just get him out of the picture kind of deal, because I guess, Chip, focusing on the case, feels, hey, Dale's a better companion for you than I am. Here, you take Dale. I'll stay with Gadget. So, yeah, basically, as far as the very first episode, Calories Not Included, you kind of got that scenario, within the series of, this is something that's going to be constantly going on for quite some time, if not throughout, and be that kind of cute sub-arc, that cute, affectionate, comedic sub-arc that's needed to help drive the series and get people's attention. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. I mentioned that there will be several scenarios brought into the equation that would allow fans to interpretate and maybe even think, is Disney kind of hinting that, Gadget might go with this character instead of the other? Let me explain. Okay, now, when I talk about different scenarios in the series that kind of would make fans interpretate, if not think maybe, that Disney might consider putting Gadget with one or the other when it comes to either Chip or Dale. One of the first instances, of course, is those original March to April, spring 1989 episodes. And the episode I'm talking about is Adventures in Squirrel City. And in this episode, we're introduced to the character Tammy the Squirrel, who becomes immediately crushing, if you will, or smitten, if you will, Twitter-peated with Chip. And all because Chip saved her from falling, out of a tree or from the grasp of Fat Cat's hands. Because, long story short, Fat Cat had stolen a priceless artifact called the Maltese Mouse. And basically, the only way he got it back was holding this one mother squirrel's kids ransom or hostage. And when he finally gets it back, he ends up, he does live up to his end of the bargain by saying, oh yeah, you'll get him back as long as I get the mouse. But being the typical, villain that he is, he says, okay, here you go, catch. And he just drops him. And Chip ends up saving Tammy, and because of that, Tammy becomes very smitten with him. And this is played throughout the episode, where Tammy is so smitten with him that when the Rangers offer to take the kids in for the night so the mother can entertain her guests that night, or her friends, whatever they had planned or whatever, if you know what I mean, basically Tammy takes that opportunity to kind of try to win over Chip. In fact, she even tells her mom in an embarrassing way, I'm too old to be babysat, but I'll go along just to help Chip with the baby. And again, it's through their stay at Ranger headquarters that she tries to win over Chip's affections. Chip's all right with it at first, but then he starts to get a little annoyed, like, it's like, okay, what is this girl trying to do? It's like she's pushing her luck kind of deal. And it gets to a point that Chip basically blows up at her. He blows up at her. And, she says, basically what happens, what causes him to blow up at her is not just the fact that she's kind of, pushing things, too fast or too quickly, basically pushing herself onto him. But what kind of, I think, puts it over the top is when he's made fun of or he's teased by Monterey Jack, Zipper, and Dale. Because basically you have, there's a scenario in the episode where basically the Rangers have to take care of something, and Chip's trying to compliment Gadget, and and her fast thinking with the Ranger Wing and stuff. And actually, I think it's the Ranger Wing or the Ranger Plane. It's one of them. And Tammy, of course, takes offense to this to the point that she actually compliments Chip. She wants to give the credit to Chip, and it's through her acting like this, kind of saying he was so heroic, that you have Dale and Monterey Jack, like I said, teasing Chip about that, mocking what Tammy just said about him. Tammy just said about Chip, and this is enough to basically get Chip to finally just put his foot down, I guess you could say, and just unload on Tammy. Just say, look, enough's enough. Stop. You need to stop this nonsense. You need to stop, pretending that there's something here. There's you need to get out of this fantasy world, is what he's trying to say. And when he's doing this, he's kind of confining her to him in Dale's room, along with her sister, Bink, her baby sister, that is. Tammy says something along the lines that I guess really just goes over the edge for Chip, kind of like steps over the line. And that basically says, we have Rescue Ranger stuff to do. And Chip's like saying, you're not a Rescue Ranger. And when she tries to, call him Chipper again, he gets right in her face and says, and stop calling me that kind of deal. And it hurts her feelings to the point that, because she's still smitten, for Chip. She wants to prove herself to Chip that, hey, I'm that someone you need. I could be that special someone in your life. Then I'm just as good as this gadget girl that you're smitten over. She decides to take her sister and go to Fat Cat's headquarters to try to retrieve the Maltese mouse. So, long story short, what happens is Dale and Gadget see what Chip has done. And basically, when Chip's in the living room and basically sitting down saying, hey, those kids are a pain, I'll be sure. Basically, what happens is that, okay, what I'm trying to say, hold on. Okay, basically, getting to what I was saying, Chip basically acknowledges to himself, or says out loud to himself, those kids are a pain. I'll be sure glad when they're gone. This is where basically, after, like I said, Dale and Gadget witness what he's done, they confront him. Gadget's the first one to speak up and says, I can't believe what I just saw out of you. I can't believe you. You hurt her feelings. How could you be so hard on her? You have Dale giving him the, bonk on, you have Dale doing the, bonk in the head deal. And stating to Chip, she likes you, you dummy. And Chip, he's kind of trying to find the right words, stammering for the right words to say to kind of justify his actions. But they're all giving him, including Zipper and Monterey Jack, they're all giving him this look like, the look of basically, yeah, you know what you did, right? You know what you just did, right? And it's enough for Chip to be like, you're right, I screwed up. So when he goes to apologize to Tammy and say that, he really likes her, he likes her really, that's when he discovers what she did to try to, prove herself to him. So anyway, like I was saying, basically Chip goes to apologize because, like I said, his friends give him the looks. They're looking straight at him and he's trying to find the right words to justify what he just did, making Tammy sad, upsetting her, making her cry, hurting her feelings. And basically they give him the look that, all of them, Dale, Monterey, Gadget, Zipper, they all give him this look like, yeah, what are you saying to try to justify your actions? And Chip basically gives this heavy sigh like, you're right, I screwed up. Because basically they're making him realize that you let your emotions get the best of you. And so again, getting back on topic here, or getting back to the point that I left off on, he goes to apologize to her, says that he likes her really, and then that's when they discover she went to go get the Maltese mouse to try to prove herself to Chip. And this is all confirmed when Gadget's the one to go and get her and rescue her out of Fat Cat's headquarters, where, she finally Tammy herself just lets it out. She says, look, I don't need help. I want to prove to Chip that I'm just as special as you, because the thing is, Tammy has this mindset that Gadget's and that everything Gadget has done is trying to impress Chip, and Gadget has to inform her, look, I'm not trying to do anything like that. I don't know where you got that idea. I'm not trying to impress him or anybody else. And she basically gives her the moral of the story that if you want somebody to like you, be yourself. Don't try to be somebody you're not. And this is enough for Tammy to forgive Gadget and kind of have now the understanding of oh, I see what you're saying, kind of get the idea that she messed up in a way she shouldn't have messed up in. So again, like I said, Tammy, finally realizing what she's done thanks to Gadget, admitting to her, hey, look, I'm not trying to do anything to impress Chip. I don't know where you got that thought process from, So, or do you got that mindset? But you need to if you want Chip to like you, you need to be yourself. You don't need to be somebody that you're not. And again, that's enough, like I said, for Tammy to have the understanding of, maybe just like Chip screwed up yelling at her, that she screwed up basically by not just being herself and realizing, okay, maybe I am pushing myself too far. Maybe I should just be a friend and kind of have an understanding that, this, it may not be exactly what I think it is. But in the end, she still kind of finds Chip cute and gives him a kiss on the cheek, which makes him blush and everything. And that's the last time for a while that we have any characters outside of the main team trying, basically what I'm trying to say is that's the last time we have anybody outside of the main team when it comes to the whole romance deal involving Gadget. Because, again, this was a scenario that just because of the fact that we didn't see Tammy afterwards until way later on in the IDW Boom Studios officially, or the Boom Studios retcon or continuation, if you will, soft retcon, if you will. Basically, a lot of people would be left up to interpretation. A lot of kids growing up at that time, including myself, we would all be up to interpretation and wondering, did Disney set up the idea, especially with Tammy kissing Chip at the end, were they setting up the idea that, okay, maybe Chip's going to go with Tammy, and that means the door's open for Dale to go with Gadget. So, that was the whole, that was the whole, implication to a lot of us at that time, and even to this day. It makes us wonder if one of the original plans was for Tammy to potentially be that love interest for Chip, and it opens the door for Dale and Gadget. We may never know. But like I said, it'll be quite some time before something like this would come up again. Now, after this, and through the rest of the episodes and all that, we would get more hints, Easter eggs, moments, to where it would really kind of make, like I said, make the fans think, is Disney trying to say something? Are they trying to imply that this is going to happen or that's going to happen? Because another scenario, in my opinion, that really played into the, to the is kind of the question of, is Disney hinting kind of deal at this, or are they just throwing that out there to kind of tease potentially that this is a scenario they could go with? One of those other ones, especially when it comes to these earlier Disney Channel episodes that aired in the spring of '89, was one of the final ones they did, which was called Carpet Snaggers. Long story short on this one, Dale and Gadget get stuck on a carpet. They get trapped within a carpet that's flying off, and we later find out that the carpets are actually have circuits within them that cause them to fly remotely to their destination. Someone is controlling them, and that someone happens to be the mad scientist Norton Nimnall. Anyway, long story short, and I know I'm using that a lot, but I want to try to get to the point here. Basically what happens is, as they're investigating this, as they're investigating the rugs, one of the rugs that they're on comes to life, is brought to life, is turned on, if you will. And basically, while they're running, trying to get off the carpet, Gadget sees some, circuitry sparking underneath the carpet, and stops just for a moment to notice it, to look at it. And this is enough to get Dale's attention, to where Dale has to run back after her and says, "Gotta go, Gadget!" And as soon as they're trying to get out of there, they get trapped within the carpet and all that. They get trapped within the carpet. So Monterey and Chip and Zipper have to follow after them. And, well, Zipper's the first one to follow after them, and he does catch up with them. But basically what happens is Dale is trying to use all the supernatural items that Monterey gave him to stop what he thinks is a magical situation. But what happens is he ends up falling off the initial carpet that they're on onto another that's right below it. And after he falls, all of a sudden he's bonked in the head with this set of pearls that Gadget is using as sort of a rope to climb down. And what happens afterwards is Dale tells Gadget, be careful. And as soon as he says that, what happens? A little bit of gust of wind blows around and kind of loosens her grip, and she ends up falling. And instead of, doing exactly what Dale did, and that's fall right onto the carpet, Dale basically positions himself basically runs up and positions himself right under there and catches her. He catches her in his arms. And she thanks him by saying, "Golly, thanks, Dale." And she hugs him, embraces him a little bit because he caught her like that. And that right there, to me, was one of those initial moments. Besides what we saw in Cattery's Not Included, that was one of those initial moments right there, again, where it made you think, is Tad Stones and Disney teasing something for the future? What's going on? So besides that moment, we had other moments as well. Like, I don't know if you could really count it as a moment, if you will, but there's an episode, I think, that comes on after To the Rescue. After the miniseries To the Rescue is taken care of. I'm going to try to look it up right now, see if I could find... I think it's called A Creep in the Deep. I think that's the episode. That is the name of the episode now that I think about it. But basically, in the episode, at the beginning, well, not right at the beginning, but a little afterwards, the Rangers are at home at headquarters, listening to the report online, not online, but on television, listening to the news report. And Chip points out, "Wow, that's a case for us. That's something we should look into." And you have Dale and Gadget on the couch, or on their couch. I guess you consider a couch. And Gadget is kind of doing like a Dale. She's kind of like just lounging back, and like, really, you think something like that is up our alley, or something like? And she kind of has this expression like, "Golly, you think that's really something we should look into?" Like, like she's not taking it seriously. And then Dale's just like right next to her, and he puts up his one leg onto the other, and his hands are on his knee when he's done doing that, and he's like, well, it sounds like a fishy thing to me, or fishy case to me. So you have basically Dale and Gadget, and again, I don't know if you really want to interpretate this as being like another tease, but you basically have the two of them kind of acting like kind of laid back about it, like they know they're gonna, like they already know, we're gonna probably take this case, we're gonna look into it. They already know it, but they're just laid back about it, like really, this is the next case for us to take, So, it's really it's really interesting, just that one part. But yeah, you got again, if you want to look into that as being like a tease as well, but that's totally up to you, depending how you view it. But again, there are other situations, other moments throughout the series that I know that have showcased this as well. As a matter of fact, and I'm going to try to find the episodes here. Hold on. Here we go. Try to find the episodes. Let's see. There's, let's see. You might say, okay, so going back to the spring episodes, you might go and say, well, what about Kiwi's Big Adventure? And Kiwi's Big Adventure could kind of play into that, because it's Gadget that's kind of concerned about Dale, and basically, like I say, she's kind of concerned about Dale because it looks like Dale may have injured himself because he was trying to help them get out of a situation. But then, of course, she gets upset about the fact that it was all nothing but a ruse, because he wanted, to be waited on hand to foot and whatever. And I guess maybe he wanted to, take the opportunity to get her affections or something like that. Um, but I guess maybe if you look at the early portion of that, you could say that's just Gadget being caring and all that. That's how she is. So, I don't think you could really look into that as being one. But maybe the other one that comes before it, called Dale Beside Himself, is another example, because even though Gadget doesn't know it's an alien, a shape-shifting alien, impersonating Dale, just because they're noticing that Dale's not being Dale, and it's kind of like, I say, day in the life, slice of life episode almost for them. Basically, what happens is Gadget decides to kind of get Dale to be himself again. That maybe one of the ways Dale could be himself is by having him, join them for a movie. So she kind of plays up the whole flirtatious deal, because what she does is she takes the pseudo Dale that she thinks is the real Dale, and she basically says, "Here, come sit by me," because she knows that'll get that. If anything will get Dale to kind of get back to being himself, it's being around her or being close to her. So, there's that, and then of course you have the ending where she hugs the real Dale, just glad to have the real Dale back, like, hey, just happy to have you back home, or back, because basically when the revelation is made that the Dale that was around with them the whole time was a pseudo Dale, and then the real Dale was actually in his place. It's really kind of interesting, to say the least. But basically, the ending is her really hugging Dale, like really tight, to where Dale has the expression like, "Oh, that feels good," kind of deal. Anyway, that's just one of, again, going back to the earlier episodes. That's just one of the just one of the I guess you could say teases of that Disney and that the creative crew, like, and I'm reading them right here, like Dev Ross and Tad Stones and others like Linda Wolverton. Basically, this is just, like I said, it's just one of those scenarios that they kind of play into, kind of tease a little bit when it comes to making fans wonder who Gadget would end up with, like who would she choose potentially as a love interest. Excuse me there. But anyway, besides that, like I said, with the exceptions of Dale Beside Himself, Cattery's Not Included, Adventures in Squirrel Sitting, and somewhat, if you want to play into it, Risky Business, we wouldn't really see anything, from the romance side of things when it comes to Gadget or anything in the series. We wouldn't see anything coming out of this whole, like I said earlier, cute, affectionate, comedic sub-arc, character arc, if you will. We won't see anything about that until, like I said, we get to part 3, which is the origin of how the Rangers came together as a team, but also, origin-wise, is the first time we see, Gadget, or the whole affection, competitiveness between Chip and Dale when it comes to Gadget's affections. And again, like I said, we wouldn't see anything like that until way later on in the fall. And I think the next time we see that, and I'm trying to look here, I think the next time we kind of see that is in a case of stage fright, where basically they think they're going to go see a movie, right? And there's a nice little jab at Donald in this one, because when they think they're going to see a movie, you have they're going down this entrance, this little smoke entrance that they use, a smoke pipe thing that's on the top of roofs sometimes. They go down it, and Dale basically comes back up. He's the first one to go down because he wants to go see this movie, or what he thinks is a movie. And then he pops up after he goes down saying, "Oh, I hope it's one of those cartoons that involves that big dumb duck." It's a nice little jab there. But when they find out that it's actually an opera, Dale at first doesn't want anything to do with it, and he starts to kind of try to, and he's considering, and he starts to kind of walk off, go back home, because he doesn't want basically, he doesn't want to have anything to do with watching an opera. But as soon as Chip says something, okay, go ahead, fine, go ahead, fine, you go home, enjoy yourself. I'll stay here and enjoy some cultural entertainment. And all of a sudden, bam! Bam! Here comes Dale right back saying, I didn't say I couldn't learn to like it. And as soon as the moment Dale comes back, like, again, what I'm trying to say is, the moment Chip kind of says, okay, fine, you go home, enjoy yourself, watch whatever you want on TV. I'll stay here and enjoy some cultural entertainment. The moment Dale hears that, he just jumps right back and says, hey, I didn't say I couldn't learn to like it. And in the moment he says he couldn't learn, the moment he says that line of, hey, I didn't say I couldn't learn to like it, he's leaning towards Gadget, because basically he realizes with the tone that Chip put out there of, okay, I'll stay here and learn, or I'll stay here and enjoy some stuff. Dale knew immediately, oh, no, you don't. I'm not letting this happen. I'm not letting you, take the opportunity. And he jumps right back, is what he does. He jumps right back and says, okay, because basically, as crazy as it sounds, tying into the whole romance thing with Gadget and the affection that, Chip and Dale are competing over, basically, Dale jumps back over there, or comes back immediately, because, like I said, he realizes, Chip could take advantage of this moment to win Gadget over. I'm not going to let that happen. So that's one, I guess you could say, slight, moment in there, or tease of potentially where they could go with it. That, I think, who wrote that episode? I'm trying to look here. Dev Ross throws in there. Another idea, another big one. And David Wise, who is known for doing work mostly on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original 80s to 90s show, as well as some work on Transformers, G1. David Wise wrote the episode RoboCat, and this here is one of the bigger examples of, teasing of a writer teasing potentially going in one direction. Because what happens is Gadget looks at what happens is basically I don't know if they planned it to be like a night out, just like a night to do whatever, but basically what happens is they encounter this RoboCat that is named Tom. And what happens is after the RoboCat fails its protocol, it gets tossed out by the local junk man, if you will. That's the description Wikipedia is giving. And Gadget feels sorry for it. She feels sorry for it. And she decides, you know what? Because Gadget, being an inventor herself, feels that, that's no way somebody should be treating an invention. So again, she feels sorry for it and decides she wants to take it back to headquarters and fix it. And even though Monterey Jack and Chip are against it, Dale is the one that actually supports her, because he sees an opportunity of, hey, you don't want to support her? I'll support her. I'll win her affection. So basically, because when Gadget points out, because when Chip asks Gadget, well, how are you going to make it a friendly cat? How are you going to fix that? How are you going to program it to do that? And she points out to Dale's video game saying, hey, we could use his game. And Dale's like, yeah, in this game, the dog and cat are friends. Sort of. So anyway, long story short, Chip and Monterey are reluctant about this, mostly Chip, because when they decide to finally agree to take it back for her to fix it, Chip's like, I know I'm going to regret this. Again, Dale is like the supportive one. He's the one that's like, hey, I believe in you, even if he doesn't. So, again, another scenario where, you have one of the characters, one of the chipmunks, if you will, supporting Gadget in a situation to where you would think, the other character, the other chipmunk, in this case Chip, is probably right about the whole scenario. Anyway, like I said, it's just another tease, implication, if you will, put out by the writing staff, the creative staff, to kind of make you wonder, are they going to go in this direction, or are they going to go in that direction? Makes you wonder. And then the episode that follows, called Does Pavlov does Pavlov ring a bell? I gotta look that word up. It's been that word for me and a lot of fans has been bugging us. Like, what does that mean? Pavlov. What does it mean? Yeah, I'm gonna look this up. Psychologist. Oh, it's the last name of a Russian psychologist. So Pavlov's Doug's. Okay, so that's why it's called that. I don't think anybody would really guess that at first, but anyway, yeah. Does Pavlov ring a bell? That's the name of it. Was another big example, but in this case, it wasn't teasing the fact of would Chip end up with Gadget? Would Gadget choose Chip? Would Gadget choose Dale? Because one is supportive of her than the other, or whatever the scenario is. No, this time in Does Pavlov ring a bell? It actually focuses on Gadget, being attracted and maybe somewhat smitten with a new character, a lab rat named Sparky. Now, of course, Chip and Dale, they don't, help themselves in the scenario somewhat throughout the episode, because they're trying to be competitive too. They're letting the jealousy and the competitiveness, not just with each other, but now against this new rival for her affection, and basically get the best of them, basically blind them to the fact that, okay, and it isn't until the end of the episode where Chip's the one, both of them, through Chip that is though, kind of acknowledge, look, maybe we're, maybe we were hard on you because we felt that Gadget was going to leave you for us, was going to leave us for you. And we kind of understand that if you're the one she wants to be around the most, we get that. And it's enough, and that's enough. The admittance right there is enough for Gadget to understand why they had acted the way they did. But the episode, it can end peacefully. It can end on a high note, if it's still got to end on a very comedic note. And it does, because when she hugs them both, and the hug is kind of like a callback to the hug she gives them initially in To the Rescue Part 3. Dale's like, did you hear that? She says, no one could replace me. And then Chip chimes in like, what do you mean you? She said me. And, kind of, like I said, kind of goes back and forth on the deal. And that's how the episode ends. But yeah, basically this was one episode where it made you think, is Disney actually gonna, open the door now for Chip and Dale to go with other characters? Is it opening the door for Chip to go with Tammy now, and maybe Dale with somebody else? It was opening that door, or if you will, in the eyes of a lot of fans. But then the ending kind of like shut that door a little bit, and still kind of made you wonder, okay, it's not just Chip or maybe Dale or anybody else that could be, attracted to or attracted by characters outside of the team. It's also Gadget as well. So, that was really so. And again, this was a really telling episode because despite how you might feel about the Sparky character, um, basically, basically, according to Wikipedia, they said it best here. Because of this, the struggle between Chip and Dale to get Gadget's attention, her affection, gets ugly, and it gets to a point, basically, like I said, when they see this outside rival coming in and threatening the position or the opportunity, that's when it gets a little out of hand until they realize, okay, we screwed up, we shouldn't have done that. So anyway, the next one after that is Seer, that's Seer, Seer, no evil. And basically it has to deal with this fortune teller that Monterey bumps into, meets up with after the longest time, that predicts that Chip's going to be terminated. He's going to be killed. And all the other predictions she's made for the Rangers comes true, except for Chip's, because it looks like Chip's dead, but it looks like the prediction comes true, but then it turns out that no, it wasn't. He actually found a way to avoid getting killed by jumping into a hole. And then I guess for the audience, we all start to get the idea of, oh, wait a minute, maybe this Cassie character that Monterey knew is not really on the up and up, and maybe she's in cahoots. Or maybe she's in cahoots with these other characters, these villains or criminals that they encounter. But the reason I bring this up is basically there's a couple of moments at the end, there's a couple of moments in the episode at the end that kind of teases, that again opens that door of, oh, are they teasing that Chip's going to be with Gadget and Dale might be with somebody else? It kind of opens, it kind of teases and makes that implication, because you have Chip in one scene saying he's going to win a prize for, because when you go to a carnival, they have those little those mini games that you go up to try to win a prize. So Chip basically says he'll step up and try to win a prize for Gadget, which kind of shows a little bit of affectionateness and all that. And of course, Dale has to step in and try to outdo him, or not want to risk that chance of losing his opportunity at winning Gadget's affections. But anyway, you have that one moment right there. And then when it's revealed that Chip is alive, not dead, because of the prediction that turns out to be false, you have Gadget hugging him. And then you have her hugging him at the end when he says, hey, you can't rely on some kind of... you can't rely on a gypsy's fortune telling that could be false or something like that. And she hugs him because of that. So, and that's how the episode ends there. And, Chip's kind of breaking the fourth wall when the iris fades, when the fade iris comes in to close the episode. You have him winking at the crowd and all that, or the audience. So it kind of makes you think, that, again, they're teasing the fact that, Chip could end up, Gadget will end up choosing Chip. Now, this episode, Seer No Evil, is written by Julia Leward. Julia Leward. So obviously, it seems like she might have been in the camp, maybe in the camp of doing Chip and Gadget as an item. But then you get to chocolate chips, and it's right at the beginning. They're on this safari, kind of a vacation. And it's basically in this one scene in here where Dale kind of is talked into or manipulated by Chip, if you will, to giving up sweets, giving up chocolate, because he has a chocolate addiction very similar to Monterey's cheese addiction. So basically, he gets talked into giving up on sweets, and when Dale... because basically Chip kind of manipulates him into doing that. And when Gadget hears he's gonna do that, even though it's reluctant, like Dale's like, well, I didn't say anything like that. Gadget goes up to him and hugs him, kind of rubs her cheek next to him, saying she's proud that he's doing that. So, okay, there's that one instance. But then we get a couple of episodes later, and we get to another episode written by Dev Ross. And this episode, Whether or Not, basically, the Rangers are planning to, have a fun day, kind of like a day off, go swimming, enjoy themselves. And there's a moment at the beginning where Gadget kind of, I guess, builds this weather machine to kind of predict what the weather's going to be, the temperature. And Dale's the first one, and I'm surprised Chip didn't say anything about this, but Dale's the first one to go up to her and say, "Gee, Gadget, only you could come up with something as good as this," or something like, or rather thingamajiggy, whatever. Because Dale being Dale, he can't really pronounce what Gadget just said or what she just called it. So he basically says that he kind of refers to it as best he can, but he's showing a lot of affection. He's kind of like taking the opportunity to kind of sweet talk her a little bit, which she enjoys, which she likes, and kind of I think she's a little. Because he's kind of flirting with her in that moment, and she kind of accepts it, if you will. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see that. And then basically we wouldn't get another. Basically, we wouldn't get another take on that, another kind of scenario when it comes to, the Gadget romance. We wouldn't get another scenario until about, what is it? About, according to this, 4 episodes later, if not 5 episodes later, because of of what we get. So, all right. So the first scenario is Song of the Nightingale. And this was written by Tad Stones. And something tells me, I've always had the suspicion that Tad Stones may have favored Dale being with Gadget. Because you have basically Gadget invents the Ranger Ring. And you would think, okay, she could choose Monterey. She could choose Chip, right? To be like the first pilots to help out. Or she'll just be the first one to pilot it, if you will. No. Who does she choose? She chooses Dale. And basically because what happens is Dale comes out with this flight outfit and he hops in the pilot seat and Chip's like, "What are you doing?" Like, "What are you doing?" And Gadget has to explain, "Oh, I talked to Dale earlier, told him what I wanted to do, and I wanted to basically Gadget explains to Chip, "Oh, I talked to Dale earlier, and I explained to him what I wanted to do." So it's like, okay. And the moment I can't stop laughing about this moment, because immediately after Gadget explains to Chip why Dale's in the pilot seat and is going to be flying the plane, Dale looks at Chip and Dale just looks at Chip and goes, gives him the raspberry, sticks his tongue out at him, if you will. Anyway, again, it's to me, it's obvious right with this episode that Tad Stones and the next two people and the two people that wrote the next episode, I believe, were firmly in the camp of Dale and Chip. Although, again, going back to Seer No Evil, you would think that Julia girl was in the camp of Chip and Gadget, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Anyway, the episode is really fun. It's a really interesting episode. And it does end with them not only solving the mystery of what's going on around there, but it ends with, not only Chip apologizing to Dale saying, "Hey man, sorry, we thought you were crazy," and all that. It's Gadget that follows up on that and says, "No, Dale, we were the one." It's Gadget that follows up on that by saying, "No, Dale, we're the ones that were crazy." And then she hugs him real tightly, saying, "Crazy about you, crazy about you." And it's like, okay, oh, it's like, okay, that was something, because you have Gadget being the one that builds off of what Chip's apology, but by saying, "No, we're the ones that were crazy about you," hugging him and hugging Dale real tightly when she says that. And there's a lot of people I heard that actually mocked that moment when they would review it, or they would talk about it. There was a lot of people that mocked that moment, that ending, by stating that, "Ooh, Gadget, she's crazy about Dale," that. So yeah, it was, so again, that somewhat confirmed to me that Tad Stones may have been in that D plus G camp, if you know what I mean. But then you can also add Kevin Hobbs and perhaps maybe somewhat Julia Leward, from who wrote, like I said, who solo wrote See or No Evil. You can probably add her somewhat in the category of both camps, if you will, because Double O Chipmunk to me solidified that the writers, the creative staff, had their preferences as well, and I think more along the lines of Kevin Hobbs, along with Tad Stones, were the ones that were kind of in the camp of Dale and Gadget, while Julia was more in the camp of maybe Chip and Gadget, and maybe at times would dabble with Dale and Gadget, but basically in the long run would leave that door open for anything to happen, for the fans to interpretate any kind of possibilities, if you know what I mean. So basically, it's in this episode where Dale wants to emulate his favorite spy called Dirk Suave, who's a parody of 007, James Bond. So what happens is Dale decides at night, when everybody's asleep, to sneak into Gadget's workshop, take one of his tuxedos, and outfits it into a spy suit, a super spy suit, which not only wakes everybody up and they see what's going on, but impresses them, mostly impresses Gadget, because all of a sudden she's seen, along with us, this side of Dale that we've never seen before, a very inventive, creative side, which leads, I believe, into her wanting to help him live his dream. Because what happens is, basically, he accidentally drops one of his smoke bomb cufflinks. So she has to basically air dry. She uses a hair dryer to, basically blow out all the smoke and all that. And basically, she sees Dale just sitting on the edge of a branch, or the entranceway, or the branch that's the entranceway into the headquarters. She sees him there, just slumping, just downhearted, and she tries to encourage him by saying, "Why don't you try to get some sleep, Dale?" And Dale's like, "I'd mess that up too," and he's just downhearted, and everything, and he's just broken, if you will, because he's basically, what Dale was trying to do was prove that he could be more than what he is, more than just comic relief. He could be support. He could be a major part of the team by being creative and inventive, and maybe even having his own identity to help out. And basically, as soon as him and Zipper walk back into headquarters, brokenhearted and everything, by saying that, yeah, I'm good at making everybody laugh when I mess things up. That's enough for Gadget to, being someone that obviously knows how he feels, to look at the suit, look at the hard work he put into it, have tears coming down her eyes, saying, "You know what? If Dale wants to be a super spy, I'm going to help him." And yeah, she does. She does. In fact, somebody that did a Best of Gadget compilation here on YouTube, or on YouTube basically, basically basically after she says she's going to help him, they have this line. They put in this text in the middle of it saying, and yeah, she goes way too far in doing so, because the next day we see that we hear that there's a knock on the door. Hold on, guys. Sorry about that. I think I just heard one of those Apache copters outside. That was weird. But anyway, like I said, this one person basically puts in a text after Gadget says she's going to help Dale. He transitions to a text he puts on the screen saying, yeah, and she goes way too far in doing so. Because basically what happens the next day, what happens the next day is Dale and Zippo wake up. They notice that headquarters is empty. And, Dale's figuring, they probably didn't want to be around us because we messed up. But that's not the case, because the moment he says that, the moment he says that, all of a sudden you hear this knock at the door. He opens it up. Or it opens, basically it's pushed open. Well, he's trying to open it. And we see this attractive, sultry, voluptuous female mouse. Lipstick, mascara, the whole 9 yards, red dress, red high heels, necklace, you name it. And, not only is Dale smitten with her, but she says she's Gadget's cousin. She asks, basically, she asks Dale for his help because the spy's after her, stuff like that. So what happens is she ends up giving him this microfilm, which she kind of pulls out of a certain area of her that she has. Well, basically, she basically gives him this microfilm, and then she pulls out this map out of us, and then she pulls this map out of a certain area, if you know what I mean, a certain upper region, if you know what I mean. And it ends with basically her not only giving Dale a code to tell her contacts or give her contacts, but she ends it by kissing Dale right on the lips. I mean, literally. And then you find out later on, or just moments afterwards, that this attractive, voluptuous femme fatale is actually Gadget in disguise. In fact, even Monterey compliments her by saying, "Great work, Gadget, just like a real femme fatale." And, Gadget's proud of her, saying, proud of that, thanks Monterey for the compliment, and is proud of the fact that, hey, this little game that they're putting together for Dale is going to help make him feel better. But, and then Chip says something at the end. Well, you tell he's jealous. Well, he's really jealous. Where he's like, you didn't have to kiss him. And Gadget's reasoning was, well, isn't that what all super spies are supposed to do? Yeah, like I was saying, I was just double checking to make sure I was right about it. But anyway, basically we find out, as I said, that the voluptuous femme fatale spy is Gadget. And like I said, Monterey compliments her on that, saying, great on the job, bonds the job there, Gadget. And Gadget's like, thanks. And she even indicates maybe this game will help Dale feel like a real spy. And then Chip comes in with the line by saying, well, you didn't have to kiss him. And as I mentioned, just moments ago, Gadget's like, well, isn't that what the spies are supposed to do? And you can kind of see Chip's expression when she explains that, like, he has this expression on his face like, seriously? Are you being serious with me on that? So, to me, that was another indication, in my opinion, of somebody. I'm thinking more along the lines of Kevin Hobbs, more so than Julia. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe she's in, like I said, in the camp of both. But that's kind of an example of someone else being in that D&G camp, because they didn't have to write in that moment. I would assume Julia maybe wrote in that moment saying, well, how would you, make this, how would you make Dale not know this is Gadget? What would Gadget do that's not like her to really make Dale think she's a spy? Oh, I know. Have her kiss him on the lips. So there you go. But again, that's just an example right there another major example, as some people point out, of the creative staff, in this case, Kevin Hobbs and maybe somewhat Julia Lewand, but mostly, in my opinion, Kevin Hobbs, along with Tad Stones in the previous episode, showing maybe some favoritism towards a D and G relationship or romance. The other ones that we have, let's see. Oh, okay. So the next one after that, and I think that is the next one that follows is actually, according to Wikipedia, 7 episodes later. Good Times, Bat Times. Now, again, just like with Adventures in Squirrel Sitting, this is an episode where you have a character from the outside coming in and showing affection, being attractive, falling for, being smitten with one of the Rangers, and in this case, it's Dale. So yeah, basically, what introduced the Foxglove. I just did a video on her, an audio video on her a couple days ago. But what introduced the Foxglove, and she becomes, just like Tammy became smitten with Chip, she becomes smitten with Dale. The only difference here is Dale, as the episode progresses, becomes more receptive. He becomes more receptive, especially at the end of the, I guess you could say, the second act, where basically, excuse me, I was just cracking my knuckles there. I do apologize for anybody that finds that disgusting. I do apologize. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Basically, in this episode, Good Times, Bat Times, unlike Adventures in Squirrel Sitting, and Chip, not being receptive to Tammy's affections towards him, Dale becomes receptive later on, like mostly towards the second act of this episode, because basically what happens is, unbeknownst to Dale until the third act, Foxglove is working with this witch, or this wannabe witch called Winifred, and Foxglove doesn't really know Winifred's true intentions or what she's really about, because she's just trying to find someone to be friends with, get along with, spend time with, be BFFs, if not more so. And she finds that, and she starts finding that more so in the Rangers and Dale than she ever had with Winifred. So anyway, basically, as I was saying, it's towards the second act where Dale starts to become more receptive of Foxglove's affections, because, what happens is, Foxglove, tells Winifred, look, I'll go get you a moon rock for you, or anything, or I'll go get this moon rock that you want for your spell. And what happens is that Winifred, instead of letting her do that, decides to spy on her and notices that the moon rock has already been removed, that it's in the hands of the Rangers, and she decides to go and take care of it herself. Anyway, what happens is we transition to where, okay, after we see Gadget pull the moon rock out of the bagpipe express, as she calls it, one of the pipes, if you will, it transitions to basically the next morning, where Dale is the one picking up or trying to lift the moon rock. So in other words, he volunteers, I guess, to get up the next morning and lift the moon rock, and I guess put it into Ranger headquarters, or move it somewhere to where they could get to it later to return it to the museum or something. Anyway, what happens is Dale's fumbling with it, trying to, grab it and try to, control it, and he bumps into Foxglove, and I guess because no one's around, he's more receptive to be around her and talk to her. Still a little shy, and everything, and he's asking, okay, I could see that you're hanging around, but I want to know why you're always hanging around. And, she tries to butter up to him by saying, hey, I thought maybe a guy like you would invite a girl to, breakfast and all that. And Dale basically, like I said, is kind of shying off a little bit. He says, "Oh, you don't want to eat breakfast here, not today." And and she's like, "Well, why not?" And and I guess who wrote this? Oh, this episode was written by Bruce Talkington. So I guess Bruce was maybe in favor of giving Dale a love interest outside of the team. So anyway, basically Dale, like I said, he's trying to shy off a little bit, because he's still kind of like, not there yet, but he will be just moments later. So what happens is Dale basically says, "Oh, you don't want to eat breakfast here." And when Foxglove asks why not, he says, "Oh, because it's Gadget's day to cook and everything tastes like machine oil." It's like and a lot of fans always speculated that thing. Well, wait a minute. Does that mean Gadget cooks with machine oil instead of regular cooking oil? Or something like that. But yeah, Dale tries to use that excuse. And when Foxglove asks, "Well, when is it going to be your turn?" And Dale was like, "Oh, they don't ever let me cook. They think they're afraid I'll break too many dishes." And he falls off onto another branch. And then he starts talking. And then I guess he starts opening up a little bit, saying, they kind of think I'm clumsy at times or something. And then it's like, after that, where, Foxglove tries to assure him, "Look, I don't know where they would get that idea. That's, stuff like that." And then she kind of butters up to him even more so, to the point that she's like, "I'll just let you finish your morning workout." And Dale was like, "My morning what?" And she's kind of like, "Well, yeah, weren't you lifting weights?" And Dale has to explain, "Oh, no, that thing got stuck in the Bagpipe Express. And then all of a sudden, in the moment, and this is where Dale becomes receptive, and he starts realizing, wait a minute, this girl does actually have a thing for me, and she doesn't care if I'm clumsy or not. She actually likes me for me." So the moment Dale starts to say, explain that, "Oh no, that thing got stuck in the Bagpipe Express," the moment at first when he tries to say "we," he suddenly changes the tone right in mid-sentence, because like I said, he starts to realize, "Oh, wait a minute. This girl has a thing for me. She likes me for me." He starts basically bragging. He starts trying to be all impressive and stuff, saying, instead of going with the "we spent all night getting it out," he says, he basically puts the credit on himself, saying, "I spent all night getting it out." And then he starts kind of like flexing a little bit and all that. So basically, it's in that moment where, line-wise, he, instead of admitting that it took all of them, on separate occasions to get the moonrock out, he decides to take the credit himself and starts to show off and flirt and impress Foxglove, to the point that when she asked if maybe she could take it maybe for a souvenir, and Dale's like, "Oh, I don't see why not." This is when Winifred shows up and captures them. And Dale's like, "I was going to give it to Foxy, not you." And that's the first time right there. That right there was the first time you heard him call Foxglove Foxy. And usually, and I said this in the video I did on 30 Years of Foxglove, that you don't hear somebody call somebody by a pet name, if you will, as some people would call it, unless they're now attracted to them as they're attracted to, unless they become smitten with them as they're smitten with them, or if that makes any sense, if you will. But anyway, after they're captured and it's revealed basically about what's going on, and Foxglove apologizes, saying, "Look, I didn't know the truth. I didn't have any real friends until I met Rin. I was just basically what happens. Long story short, after the truth is revealed, and Foxglove, basically explains that she didn't have any real friends until she met that Winifred to her was her only real friend until she met the Rangers and Dale, and it's through this that Foxglove starts seeing Winifred for who she really is, because Winifred turns Dale into a frog. and she sicks her other minions on him, and it's only through Foxglove threatening to throw a brick into the spell, into Winifred's cauldron, if you will, that Winifred changes Dale back, and Foxglove's telling him, "Get out of here now." You know what her promises are worth, because she's starting to see the truth about. She's finally realizes, what Winifred is really about. And Dale's like, "No, not without you." Who friends don't abandon each other. And the way Dale explains to her, "No, not without you," the way he says it shows that he has affection for her now. And then when she gets caught by the snake guy called Bud, Dale tries to run to her saying, calling to her Foxy. So anyway, long story short, as I mentioned in the 30 Years of Foxy video, they end up defeating Winifred, and the episode ends with the teasing that Dale and Foxglove, of the implication that they become an item somewhat, and a possible teasing that Chip and Gadget could become an item. And then that's another thing too I want to bring up. Excuse me. Because it's in this episode that you get the idea that, Chip, because the episode basically begins with them at the movies enjoying a drive-in movie. And you get this idea right at the beginning that Chip just meant for him and Gadget to go to the movies and not have everybody else. And this to me is kind of a good callback to, does Pavlov ring a bell? Does Pavlov ring a bell? This is a good callback to it, because as I said in one of my videos I did several years ago that I recently made into an audio podcast of how it should have went. Basically, I talk about this scene at the beginning of the episode where Dale wants to go on a picnic with Gadget, and Gadget misinterprets it as, "Oh, we're all going to go, the whole team." But Dale initially wants it to be just him and Gadget, because he wants to get to know Gadget better, kind of win her affection, win her over, make her his girlfriend, stuff like that. Well, you kind of get that same feeling here with Chip in the whole drive-in movie deal. Because basically Chip wanted to use this opportunity with him and Gadget being alone and not with everybody else to try to win her affections over to him. And you kind of see this as well. When Dale tries to offer some of the snacks he got from the concession stand, and Chip says, "You just sit back there. If we need anything, we'll send you a smoke signal." And then he looks towards Gadget in an affectionate way, like, "Now, where were we?" And Gadget's got this look on her face like, "What was that about? Why did you do that?" Because either she's not oblivious, or she's oblivious to the fact that Chip, just like Dale in the other episode that I mentioned, just initially wanted it to be him and her. But anyway, the episode kind of ends with a teasing that Dale is now with Foxglove, and there's a possibility Chip could end up with Gadget, if you will. So anyway, long story. So anyway, I think that might be the last one. You can kind of maybe say SS Drainpipe, which was written by Michael P. Nelson and Burt Brown. Might be another one, but that's kind of, out there, if you will. Again, you can kind of, like I say, you can kind of say that perhaps that is kind of teasing it a little bit, because you have Dale and Gadget team up at the end to kind of help, take down Rat Capone. But, that's neither here nor there. Let's see. You might even say that when they switch bodies and they fly in the ointment, and Dale's head ends up on Gadget's body and Gadget's ends up on Dale's, that might be a tease there. But it's just, basically this, you could look at different scenarios. Like, you could even look at Puffed Rangers as kind of having moments in there, or a moment or so in there, maybe not. when Gadget's like, look, a lot of kids might be disappointed, just like, Dale, in a toy not being in the car, in the cereal box, so anyway, there's a lot of different scenarios, but if you look at it, from a comparison standpoint, I think you might note. But what I'm trying to say, if you look at it from a comparison standpoint, you might notice that there's something in the throughout the series that might be very evidential, if you will. Okay, so getting back to what I was talking about by noticing that through everything that I just mentioned, things being very evidential, and everything that I've mentioned, from Calories Not Included, the very first episode, to Dale Beside Himself, to Double O Chipmunk, Creep in the Deep somewhat, if you want to look at it that way, Case of Stage Blight, if you will, yeah, Case of Stage Blight. What else? Carpet Snaggers, if you will. All that, including, like I said, Song of the Nightingale, Double O Chipmunk, like I just mentioned. When you look at all those and then you compare them to the other episodes, other episodes out there, like, even Whether or Not, you could throw in there. It definitely seems to me, that with a few exceptions here and there, basically it seems to me that there was a lot of favoritism. Yeah, I'm just drinking some orange juice there. But there was a lot of favoritism, in my opinion. That basically, it seemed to me that the creative staff, under basically the direction of John Kimball and Bob Zamboni, that's his name. Basically, as well as under Tad Stones, because I think Tad Stones was the main person behind the series as well. I mean, he did help write, if not write, he did kind of help co-write and solo write some episodes as well. Along with Kevin Hops. Him and Kevin Hops actually worked on the Rescue Rangers to the Rescue pilot. But you could tell, in a sense, and again, maybe it's just me. Basically, you could tell, in a sense, that there was a lot of favoritism shown, in my opinion, towards a potential Dale and Gadget romance. Now, the reason I bring that up is because of the fact that you look at all the episodes that I've mentioned that kind of dealt with the whole Gadget romance thing here. Excuse me. But like I say, you look at all the episodes that dealt with the whole Gadget romance thing that I talked about, especially the competitiveness of Chip and Dale for her affection, which is a callback to the classic 1950s, 1960s short, Two Chips and a Miss, where they were doing the same thing over the female chipmunk lounge singer, Khalees. Basically, when you look at all these episodes that I mentioned that dealt with it or touched upon it, you could tell, in my opinion, that basically they wanted I guess they wanted to try to tease a potential romance, or at least try to tease the fact that if they were going to go in that direction in the future, that the most likely candidate was going to be Dale. Now, I could be wrong. They could have gone with Chip, because that, Disney at that time and even nowadays always has the leader, the hero, if you will, getting the girl. So it would have made sense. in that category, especially when you look at the fact that when you get to good times, bad times, they end the episode with pretty much a tease that Dale has moved on to someone else, and it's opened the door for Chip to be with Gadget. But that's never really confirmed until later on in the Boom Studios revival of the series, which kind of, teased even in some letters. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can find something here. Hold on, guys. As I was saying, the Boom Studio comics, which revived the series as sort of a soft retcon continuation, like I said, with good times, bad times, it's teased, if not implied, that Dale and Foxglove became an item, and it opens the door for, Chip to end up with Gadget, or Gadget to choose Chip. Basically, when the Boom Studio comics came around, Foxglove's appearance, Foxglove's interaction as a major character in there, believe it or not, was a welcome surprise. And Ian Brill even acknowledged her as being Dale's sometimes girlfriend. So Ian Brill obviously was a fan that grew up with the series. He said he always liked Dale and everything and preferred Dale. So I guess I guess it's not much of a surprise that he would want Dale to have at least some kind of a happiness in his life outside of the team, and that happiness would be in the form of Foxglove. So yeah, you could say that kind of shut the door on a Dale and Gadget kind of deal, but still there are a lot of fans, even to this day, that believe that there's always been evidence in the show that Dale was going to probably end up with Gadget, or Gadget was going to choose Dale, because again, you take a look at a majority of the episodes that are listed, or that I mentioned in this video audio podcast, if you will. You look at the list of episodes that are listed, and a lot of them have to deal with the fact that the majority of them had Gadget showing affection towards Dale, and kind of vice versa, if you will. And when you look at the other episodes that I listed off, when it could come to like Chip or something like that, let's see. Like I said, you have Seer No Evil. Oh, you also have the beginning of Dirty Rotten Diapers. Dirty Rotten Diapers is a good one. Because basically when Gadget suggests that they need to have a different, more kinder, safer approach, Chip's the first one to agree with her. And what does she do? She kisses him on the cheek. So it's not the first time she's kissed. So it's the second time she's kissed. She's given a kiss to one of the teammates. But what's crazy about it, though, is that even though she gives Chip a kiss on the cheek, of course, Dale sees this, and he immediately gets up and says, I agree with you too, and he gets ready to pucker up, and he's getting ready to pucker up to get a kiss as well. And Gadget's got the smile on her face, like, hey, she's like, it's like she's looking forward to doing it. But then Chip gets in the way, like, oh, really? You're just agreeing now because of what she just did. Or basically, Chip gets in the way by saying, you're only agreeing now because she kissed me. That's all you're getting. That's the only reason you're agreeing. So, yeah, you kind of get an example like that. But then when you see that moment immediately after she gives a kiss on the cheek to Chip, and then it looks like Dale's probably going to get one as well from her, but it looks like more on the lips. Or at least it's indicated that was going to happen. It kind of shows you that, like I said, the creative staff under Tad Stones, the writing staff that is, was showing more favoritism towards, or leaning towards more Dale and Gadget romance than I think anything else. But now when you look at what they did with the Boom Studios release, it kind of again shuts that door on the Dale and Gadget thing and opens the door more for a Chip and Gadget thing. But then again, you take a look at the fact that in the Boom Studio comics, in the final 4 issues of that run, you have Tammy show up, and it looks like they might want to tease something between Tammy and Chip. So, so that possibly shuts the door there. Who knows? The thing is, when you get down to it, when it comes to the whole Gadget romance situation here in the show, when it comes to the show, animation wise or comic book wise or whatever, the door is just, it's wide open for interpretation from anybody's perspective. But like I said, when you look at all the episodes that I mentioned, a lot of them show that favoritism towards a D plus G ship. And I've always had this firm belief. I've always had this firm belief that when the original idea to do a Disney Afternoon series to do a hold on for okay, when the initial idea came out that Disney, through the Disney Movie Tunes division, were planning to release theatrical movies based on Disney Afternoon properties, one of the properties that was being proposed for a theatrical movie was Rescue Rangers. Unfortunately, as everybody knows, DuckTales didn't do so well. DuckTales Treasure of the Lost Lamp didn't do so well, and any plans that they had for any other future DuckTales movies, which they did have plans for, and any other future Disney Afternoon theatrical films that they had plans for, were shelved indefinitely. And when I read, like everybody else did, that Rescue Rangers, I think, was the second Disney Movie Tunes film on the table to be made into a theatrical film based on an ongoing Disney Afternoon animated series, I knew, I didn't know, but I had this feeling, even now, just talking about it, I had this feeling that Disney was going to use the Rescue Ranger movie to finally answer that question of who is Gadget going to end up with romantically, who is going to be her love interest, at the end. Because we have to think that, we have to speculate and theorize and think that the Rescue Ranger movie that was proposed to happen after the DuckTales one back in the early to mid-90s was going to serve as the finale for the franchise, the finale for the series, and that in here we were going to finally get the answer to who Gadget was going to choose to be her love interest, to be her beau, if you will. And I've always had this feeling, this theory, in this speculation, that because of all the evidence we got in Rescue Rangers, the series, that the movie would have had her choose Dale as her love interest. I'm not joking about it, because again, you look at everything I've just mentioned with all the episodes that I brought up when it comes to the whole Gadget romance deal, and who she probably would have ended up with, and all the different scenarios that played in and out. It definitely seems to me that was the direction they were heading in. Basically having Gadget go with Dale. Dale and Gadget being an item. Which tells me that the movie would have had Dale be a focal point as possibly one of the main heroes of the story. If you want to stay true to the whole Disney tradition of the hero gets the girl, there you go. Then, there you go. There's your answer. But we'll never know. We will never really find out whether or not that was going to happen or that would have been the case. The only person that probably knows is Tad Stones, because he was the one behind the scenes when they were proposing to do the Rangers as the second or third movie in the Disney Movie Tunes Disney Afternoon theatrical film lineup. So, who knows? Who knows? I mean, I could be wrong about it, and if I am, that's fine too. But I honestly think that there were plans, in my opinion, for them to probably have Gadget choose her beau, her love interest in the movie. And I think, as much as people would love for her to have chosen Chip, because that, from a continuity standpoint, would make sense, since they were teasing the fact that Dale was going to end up at Foxglove, I think, honestly, they were going to probably go with Dale and Gadget, because, again, you had so many moments, in my opinion, in the episodes that I mentioned, that it just seemed too obvious that they were going to go in that direction. Now, some might say, some may say, and they even have said it, that even though it seemed obvious that might have been the direction they were going to go in, that they could have gone in the direction of Chip and Gadget instead with the movie. And that's true, they could have. But again, like I said, we may never know. The only person that may have any clue about that is Tad Stones. But, that's just, for a future reference in the future or something like that, a future acknowledgement in the future, future acknowledgement when the time is right. But, like I said, I honestly, in my opinion, because of everything that was shown in the series, everything that I just mentioned, I think honestly, the whole romance, the whole answer as to, from the romance perspective for Gadget. Excuse me, hold on. Sorry about that. I got something in my throat. But basically, I believe the answer to who Gadget would have chosen from the whole romance perspective, I think it was leaning towards more towards Dale, in my opinion. I really do. I mean, it just seemed too obvious. I mean, if it wasn't obvious, they would have evened out the show of affection Gadget had with Dale and Chip. But it seemed to show more favoritism towards Dale more than anything else. I think you can even see it somewhat in some of the books that they did at that time. There's just too much evidence, in my opinion. Just too much evidence. And again, I know people are listening to this, and hopefully you've taken your time in listening to it, will argue that and say that's not true. But I think it is. I think, honestly, when you look at all the moments in the series that outshine the other moments, like the Chip and Gadget moments and stuff like that, I think it's just too evidential. There's too much evidence, in my opinion. Like I said, there's just too much evidence, in my opinion, to prove otherwise, that wasn't the direction they were going to go in. So, in my opinion, as I've mentioned before, I think they were going to go with Dale and Gadget. And it's not because that since I was a kid, I supported this ship or anything like that. It's because even as a kid, it was too obvious that it looked like that was the direction they wanted to go in. But, again, the only person that could give us that answer is Tad Stones. So, overall, I just wanted to come on here, and I know this is a lot longer than my initial Gadget romance talk that I did many years ago, but I just wanted to come on here, just give you my thoughts, to tie into what's been going on over the past 48 hours, Disney-wise. Just give you my thoughts on the whole Gadget romance deal and how I think, and how I think it would have gone and what direction, they would have taken it in, and basically who I think, despite everything that I've mentioned, all the avenues and directions and ups and downs and hills and obstacles and all that, I honestly think, in my opinion, the direction they would have gone in, the final result would have been here in Dale. So, and that would have been revealed, in my opinion, in what was originally planned to be the animated film back in the early to mid 90s. So, anyway, though, guys, just thought I'd come on here, like I said, and talk about this. And that's all. That's about it. That's all I could say. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are on what I had to say here. Do you agree with the speculation of what I mentioned of, of what direction I think they would have gone in? Because again, the evidence is just there. Do you agree that when it comes to the whole Gadget romance deal that they would have gone with Dale, or do you think they would have gone with Chip, or do you think they would have not done it at all? Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I would like to hear from each and every one of you. And I am out. God bless. Take care. Peace.